Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. The autumn dusk swept through the Los Angeles suburbs with a bitter chill as Alastair pulled his Ford pickup into the driveway of 1247 Oakwood Street. This two-story house was what he had bought 5 years ago with his hard-earned savings, when he and his wife Vivian had gazed into the future with hopeful hearts. As a plumbing engineer, Alastair's work wasn't glamorous, but the steady income was enough to sustain their middle-class life. He had just returned from a major commercial project site in Santa Monica, his body still carrying the scent of pipe adhesive and metal. 10 hours of intensive labor had left him utterly exhausted, but seeing the warm lights of home, his mood couldn't help but ease. Alastair, Mrs. Whitmore's voice cut sharply through the evening tranquility. The 70-something woman stood on her front porch, her gray hair disheveled in the wind, clutching a cup of long cold tea in her hands. "I need to talk to you." Alastair carried his toolbox toward his front door. "Good evening, Mrs. Whitmore. What's the matter?" "It's about your house." The old woman hurried down the steps, her slippers making slapping sounds on the concrete. "Someone was screaming loudly in your house today, all day long. I thought something had happened to Vivian, but no one answered when I called." Alastair's hand froze on the doorknob. "Screaming? Starting from 10 this morning, it went on for hours." Mrs. Whitmore lowered her voice, looking around. "It sounded very painful, like someone was being tortured. I almost called the police, but then the sound suddenly stopped." Alastair looked toward his own house. Except for the kitchen light, all other windows were dark. Only his truck was in the driveway. Vivian's white Honda Civic was nowhere to be seen. "Are you sure the sounds came from my house?" "Absolutely certain. I spent the whole morning organizing my garden, and the washing machine is right against the wall near your house." She pointed to the narrow space between the two houses. The sounds carried very clearly. "Are you and your wife doing all right lately?" Alastair nodded, working to keep his expression calm. "We're fine. Maybe the TV was turned up too loud." Mrs. Whitmore didn't look convinced, but she retreated a few steps toward her own house. "Well, if you need any help, just let me know." Alastair watched her walk away, then pulled out his keys. The lock turned smoothly, and the door opened silently. Inside was pitch black, with only the faint fragrance of Vivian's favorite vanilla candle still lingering in the air. "Vivian," no response. He pressed the hallway light switch. Everything looked normal. Their wedding photo still hung on the wall, though it was slightly crooked. The coat closet door was closed, mail neatly stacked on the side table. But something felt wrong. Alastair set down his toolbox and walked deeper into the house. The living room appeared untouched. The kitchen was clean, dishes were put away, even the coffee maker was off. If Vivian had been home all day, there should have been traces of her life here. He climbed the stairs, his work boots making heavy sounds on the wooden steps. The bedroom door was open, the bed was made, but one corner of the comforter wasn't tucked in carefully as Vivian usually did it, instead hanging carelessly over the side. Alastair walked to Vivian's vanity and opened her jewelry box. Empty. Not completely empty, but close to it. Her wedding ring lay alone in the velvet-lined compartment, where her grandmother's pearl necklace, gold earrings, and a diamond bracelet he'd bought for their 5th anniversary used to be. The bedroom carpet had shifted about 6 inches from its usual position. Alastair remembered clearly because he had installed this carpet himself, aligning it precisely with the bed frame. Now one corner was pressed against the baseboard. He walked toward the closet. The door wasn't fully closed, just slightly ajar, revealing the darkness within. Vivian always closed doors tight. She hated any gaps or drafts. A sound came from downstairs, like something moving. Alastair walked to the window and looked down. The driveway still showed only his truck. Mrs. Whitmore had gone back inside, her porch light glowing yellow in the deepening darkness. Another sound, softer, from the hallway. He left the bedroom and walked toward the guest room at the end of the hall. When they bought this house, they had planned for children, but 3 years later Vivian decided children would complicate things. Alastair had accepted that decision, just as he accepted most of her decisions. The guest room door was closed. Alastair turned the handle and walked in. The bed looked like someone had slept in it. Not messy, but the pillow had an indentation, and the covers had been pulled back then hastily straightened. Who had been sleeping here? He knelt down to check under the bed. A small black device sat against the wall, partially obscured by a clump of dust. Alistair reached out and retrieved it, his fingers gripping the smooth plastic surface. A recording device. Digital, the kind reporters use. Still warm to the touch. The red recording indicator light was on. Alistair sat on the edge of the guest bed, the recorder heavy in his palm. The display showed it had been recording for 9 hours and 14 minutes, the memory nearly full. He pressed the rewind button, listening to the mechanical whirring as it rolled backward through the day's recordings. When he pressed play, Vivian's voice filled the room. "It's so nice when he's not here. I can finally breathe." Another voice responded, male, younger than Alistair. "When does he get home?" "Not before 6. He's at that project site in Santa Monica today." Vivian's laughter was different from what Alistair knew, sharper. "We have time." Alistair gripped the recorder tighter, but kept his expression stone cold. He fast-forwarded, stopping at random intervals. He never suspects anything. Come home, eat, watch TV, sleep, same routine every night. It's like living with a robot. "When are you going to leave him?" "You mean when will I leave him? I'll take everything, the house, the savings, his precious truck if I want to. California is a no-fault divorce state, but I've been documenting his emotional abuse for months. He doesn't know I've been keeping a diary." Alistair rewound and played that section again. Emotional abuse. He had never raised his voice to her, never threatened her, done nothing but work desperately to give her the life she wanted. He fast-forwarded again. "The lawyer says if I can prove there's a pattern of controlling behavior, intimidation, maybe even violence, I can get a restraining order. Then he'd have to leave the house, and I could claim I felt unsafe with him. Property division would favor me. Do you think he'll fight back?" "Alistair? No way. He's too proud to make a scene. He'll accept it and walk away. He always does." The same male voice. "What if he doesn't?" "Then we'll make sure he has no choice." Alistair's jaw muscle twitched, but he continued listening. "Did you talk to your friend?" "She thinks the same thing. Men like Alistair are easy to manipulate once you know which buttons to push." "Which friend?" "Serafina. She's been through 2 divorces, knows how these things work." Alistair knew Serafina Vale, blonde, loud, recently divorced from her second husband. She and Vivian have been spending a lot of time together lately, going to the gym, having lunch, shopping. He fast-forwarded through sounds of movement and rustling, then heard voices again. "Once he's out, everything will be mine. The house, the accounts. He won't fight it." "Are you sure?" "I know my husband. He'll be hurt, but he won't fight back. He thinks fighting is beneath him." Noble Alistair, taking the high road. Vivian's voice turned mocking. "He might even wish me luck." Alistair played that section 3 times. Each repetition carved deeper into his chest. Not pain, but something colder, calculating. He fast-forwarded to near the end of the recording. "I should go. He'll be home soon. When can I see you again?" "Tomorrow, same time. He has an inspection in Westminster. Won't be back early. I can't wait to have all of you. No more sneaking around. Soon, baby. Soon." The recording ended. Alistair sat in the darkness, turning the device over in his hands. 9 hours of his wife plotting his destruction. 9 hours of her laughing with another man about taking everything he had worked for. He had been married to Vivian for 10 years. He thought he knew her, thought he loved her. It turned out he had been living with a stranger. Alistair stood and walked to the window. Outside, Oakwood Street looked peaceful, porch lights glowing, TVs flickering behind curtains, families settling in for the evening. Normal people living normal lives. His phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. "Working late at the office. Don't wait up. Love you." Sent 20 minutes ago. Alistair deleted the message without replying. He pocketed the recorder and went downstairs. In the kitchen, he opened the refrigerator and took out a beer. The cold bottle felt good in his hand. He sat at the kitchen table, thinking about his next move. Vivian expected him to be noble, take the high road, walk away quietly when she destroyed his life. She was wrong. Alistair had been in plumbing for 12 years. He knew that when a system was compromised, you didn't try to patch it. You tore out completely and built something new from scratch. He finished his beer and went to bed. The next morning, Alistair began the most important project of his life, completely destroying his wife's conspiracy. He called in sick and drove to his sister Cordelia's house. Cordelia Hayes Rodriguez was a trauma nurse at Los Angeles General Hospital, with 18 years of experience that had shown her the darkest sides of human nature. If anyone could understand a situation and provide help, it was her. "You look terrible," Cordelia said as she poured him coffee. She was 38, 2 years younger than Alistair, but her profession had given her a mature, steady demeanor. "I discovered something." Alistair took out his laptop and played the recording. Cordelia's expression gradually darkened. When the recording ended, her eyes burned with furious fire. "That bitch. She's planning to completely screw you over. That's her plan. Now I'm making mine." Alistair's voice was terrifyingly calm. "I need your help." Cordelia rolled up her sleeves. "What do you need?" "First, I need background checks on Damien Cross and Serafina Vale. I suspect this isn't their first time doing this kind of thing. Second, I need technical support to monitor Vivian's every move. Third, I need legal advice. I know some people." Cordelia took out her phone and started dialing. "Give me 3 days." Over the next 72 hours, Alistair's revenge machine began operating. Cordelia used her network in the medical system to uncover Damien Cross's criminal history. The 29-year-old fitness trainer had a shocking past. In San Diego, California, he had once seduced a married woman named Lauren Mitchell into divorce, then disappeared after she lost her property and child custody. Lauren's husband had tried to confront Damien after discovering the truth and ended up in the hospital. Though Damien was never formally prosecuted, civil lawsuits forced him to flee California. Serafina Vale's background was even more complex. 2 divorces had made her greedy and desperate. She was currently being sued by her second ex-husband for hiding assets. More concerning was that Serafina had a brother, Kane Vale, recently released from prison with a record of violent crimes. "This isn't a simple affair," Cordelia told Alistair over the phone. "This is a carefully orchestrated scam ring. They specifically target men like you." Meanwhile, Alistair contacted his old friend Felix Rodriguez. Felix had left the construction industry 6 years ago to start his own electrical contracting company and had more technical experience than Alistair. "I need surveillance equipment," Alistair said directly. "Cameras, recording devices, GPS trackers. The best kind." "That's illegal, Alistair," Felix warned. "Is it illegal to monitor my own house? To track a vehicle my wife bought with my credit card?" Alistair's logic was flawless. "I'm just protecting my own property." Felix was silent for a moment. "I understand. Give me a day to prepare the equipment." Thursday night, Alistair began installing surveillance equipment in the house. Micro cameras were hidden behind decorative items, recording devices placed where Vivian would never check. He also installed a GPS tracker on her Honda and copied her phone SIM card information. Once everything was ready, Alistair called the construction site and told the foreman he needed to attend a construction industry conference in Denver. "This conference is important for my career development," he lied. Actually, he needed several days to execute his surveillance plan. Vivian seemed unusually excited when she heard the news. "That's wonderful, darling. You should expand your professional network." Her reaction confirmed Alistair's suspicions. Vivian saw his business trip as a perfect opportunity to advance her conspiracy. Monday morning, Alistair pretended to go to the airport, but actually checked into a motel in downtown Los Angeles. He paid with cash, registered under a false name, ensuring he left no traceable records. From his motel room, Alistair began his comprehensive surveillance operation. His laptop displayed real-time footage from 6 different angles in the house. GPS tracking showed Vivian's location, and the cloned phone received all her calls and texts. At 11:30 a.m., Damien's black Jeep Wrangler pulled into Alistair's driveway. The license plate, Beast Mode, gleamed in the sunlight, a childish display that disgusted Alistair. Through the living room camera, Alistair watched Damien embrace his wife. Their kiss lasted longer than any greeting between friends should. Then Vivian took Damien's hand and led him toward the stairs. "God, I missed you so much," she said into the microphone. "It's only been 2 days," Damien replied. "Too long." Come on, we have the whole house. Alistair turned off the bedroom surveillance. He didn't need to see what happened next. The audio would be enough. Instead, he took binoculars and drove to Near Peak Fitness Gym. Through the windows, he could see the normal lunch crowd, personal trainers guiding clients, people on treadmills. The normal rhythm of a normal business. Except one of their trainers was in Alistair's house, betraying his marriage. At 2 p.m., Damien left the house. 20 minutes later, Vivian also drove out. GPS showed she went to an expensive boutique on Rodeo Drive, using Alistair's credit card to buy $3,000 worth of clothes. After shopping, she met Serafina at a cafe in Beverly Hills. Alistair drove near the cafe and photographed their meeting with a telephoto lens. The two women appeared unusually excited, hugging frequently, obviously celebrating something. His phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. "Missing you, darling. How's the conference?" Alistair forced down his anger and replied, "Going well. Learning a lot. Great. I'm going out to dinner with Serafina tonight, girls' night. Have fun." Alistair typed, his fingers clenched. But the GPS tracker showed Vivian didn't go to a restaurant. Instead, she drove to a motel in Santa Monica, where she spent 3 hours with Damien. At 10 p.m., when Vivian finally returned home, Alistair's guest room recorder captured a conversation that made his blood freeze. "The conference ends Friday. We need to move fast after that," Vivian's voice said. "What about that thing you discussed?" Damien asked. "Serafina's friend can handle it, but it has to look natural." "How natural?" "Construction accident. Building sites are dangerous. People get hurt." Alistair could barely believe what he was hearing. They weren't just planning to rob him. They were planning to kill him. He continued listening, the content becoming increasingly horrifying. "The insurance policy is $2 million. Accidental death clause doubles it to $4 million. Plus the house, his truck, everything else will be set." "When?" Damien asked eagerly. "Soon. Serafina says her friend needs a week to arrange things." Next Monday, Alistair's first day back at the construction site. Alistair's hands shook as he saved the recording to multiple devices. They really were planning to murder him. His wife, the woman he had loved for 10 years, was orchestrating his death. The next day, Alistair began building his legal defense. He contacted Detective Elena Vasquez of the LAPD, a veteran detective specializing in domestic crimes. "Mr. Hayes, these recording evidences are valuable," Vasquez said after reviewing the materials. "But murder conspiracy cases are complex. We need more evidence, preferably catching them in the act." "I have a plan," Alistair said. "I need police cooperation." Vasquez nodded. "If your life is threatened, we'll give full support. But you must be very careful." Wednesday, Alistair received an unexpected ally. The gym's cleaning woman, Carmen Vasquez, contacted him proactively. "I know what Damien is doing," the young Latina said over the phone. "He did the same thing to my sister." They met at a restaurant in Koreatown. Carmen told Alistair that Damien had once seduced her sister Maria into leaving her husband, promising to marry her. But when Maria lost her house and child custody, Damien disappeared. "Maria now lives with my mother, working 3 jobs to pay legal fees, trying to get her children back," Carmen said angrily. Damien ruined her life. Carmen provided more evidence, including photos of Damien and Vivian at the motel and conversations she had overheard about hiring Cain Vale to create an accident. "They plan to act Monday at your construction site," Carmen warned. "Cain Vale will sabotage equipment to kill you in an accident." Alistair thanked Carmen for her help. Now he had a complete picture of the criminal network. Vivian was the mastermind, Damien the accomplice, Serafina the coordinator, Cain Vale the executor. Thursday, Alistair began setting his trap. He contacted his lawyer Edmund Blackwood to ensure all evidence would be admissible in court. He also worked with Detective Vasquez to develop a detailed arrest plan. "We'll deploy undercover police at the construction site," Vasquez explained. "Once Cain Vale shows criminal intent, we'll move. Meanwhile, another team will arrest Vivian and the other conspirators." Alistair also did something extremely important. He updated his will, ensuring that if something really happened to him, Vivian would get nothing. All property would go to Cordelia and charities. Friday night, Alistair returned from Denver as planned. Vivian was preparing dinner in the kitchen, acting like a caring wife. "Welcome home, darling," she said, embracing him. "I missed you so much." "I missed you too," Alistair replied, his heart full of anger and disgust. But he had to maintain his act. They ate dinner as usual, Vivian seeming somewhat nervous, constantly checking her phone. "How was the conference?" she asked. "Very productive. Learned a lot of new plumbing techniques," Alistair lied. "What did you do these past few days?" "Nothing special. Met with Serafina a few times, went to the gym." Another lie. After dinner, they sat in the living room watching TV. Vivian curled up next to Alistair, just like countless nights over the past 10 years. But now everything was different. Her every movement, every smile, every kiss was calculated deception. "I have something to tell you," Vivian finally said. Alistair's heart began racing, but he kept his expression calm. "What is it?" Vivian took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about our marriage. I feel like we need some space." "Space?" Alistair feigned confusion. "Yes. Maybe try separating." Her voice trembled slightly. "I feel like we've grown apart. I need time to figure out what I want." "Where is this coming from?" Alistair asked. "Everything was fine 3 days ago." "No, Alistair. Everything hasn't been fine." Vivian's voice became firm. "We're living like roommates, not like husband and wife. I need you to move out. Temporarily." "Move out?" "This is my house. It's our house. If you don't agree, I'll apply for a restraining order." Vivian's eyes flashed with cold light. "Based on what?" Alistair feigned shock. "Based on your controlling behavior. Emotional abuse." She pulled a folder from under the coffee table. "I have records, Alistair. Diaries, recordings, witness testimony. You've been suppressing me, controlling my life." Alistair looked at her quietly, the last trace of warmth in his heart completely extinguished. This woman, the woman he had loved for 10 years, was using the most despicable means to destroy him. "I need time to think," he finally said. "Of course, but don't take too long." Vivian stood up and began clearing the dishes. "There's one more thing. I've been seeing someone else." Alistair feigned being thunderstruck. "What?" "His name is Damien. We met at the gym." She turned to face him, a defiant expression on her face. "I didn't plan for this to happen, but it did." "How long has this been going on?" Alistair's voice trembled, but with anger, not sadness. "A few months." Vivian's voice became sharp. "He makes me feel alive. With you, I feel dead. All you know is work. You never care about my feelings. You suffocate me, Alistair." This was the final insult. Alistair slowly stood up and walked toward the door. "I need to get some air," he said. "Alistair," Vivian called to him. "I hope you understand. This isn't because I want to hurt you. I just want to be happy. I deserve happiness." Alistair stopped at the door without turning around. "Happiness," he repeated. "I understand." He walked out of the house, but didn't drive away. Instead, he texted Detective Vasquez, "Execute tomorrow. All personnel in position." Monday morning, Alistair's revenge plan entered its final phase. He went to work as usual, but today was different. He knew Kane Vale was waiting for him. Vivian at home preparing to celebrate her widow life, Damien at the gym awaiting good news. But what they didn't know was that Alistair had control of everything. Foreman Tom told Alistair that a state safety inspector wanted to see him. "About the crane on the 3rd floor, Tom said. "He says there's a safety hazard. Needs you to check it personally." Alistair knew this was the beginning of the trap. He contacted Detective Vasquez through his earpiece. Target appeared. "Begin operation." "Copy. All units in position." Alistair found the inspector, a medium-height man with thinning hair, standing on the 3rd floor waiting for him. This was Kane Vale, Serafina's brother, the killer Vivian had hired. "Mr. Hayes, I'm Inspector Thompson," Kane said, extending his hand. "We need to discuss some concerns about your crane." "What concerns?" Alistair asked while activating the recording device hidden in his shirt. "Structural integrity issues. I need you to show me the installation." Kane's eyes flickered unsteadily. Kane led Alistair toward the building's edge, where there was a 40-foot vertical drop. Alistair pretended not to know the danger and followed him. Great view, Kane said, pulling a device from his pocket. Long way down. If someone fell from here, it would definitely be fatal. Yes, Alistair replied, his heart pounding but maintaining surface calm. A fatal distance. Kane's expression changed. He realized Alistair knew something. How do you know I'm not a real inspector? Because real estate inspectors don't carry remote detonators. Alistair pointed to the device in Kane's hand. And their names aren't Kane Vale. Kane's eyes widened. You know who I am? I know many things. Like how your sister Serafina hired you to kill me. Like the explosives you installed at the crane base. Like the $50,000 Vivian promised you. Kane stepped back, gripping the detonator tightly. What are you talking about? I'm talking about facts. Alistair pulled out a small device from his pocket. Want to hear a recording of your sister and my wife discussing how to murder me? He pressed play, and Vivian's voice came through the speaker. Construction accidents are best. Kane can sabotage the equipment. Insurance companies won't suspect. Kane's face turned pale. You've been recording? Not just recording. Alistair smiled, a smile that filled Kane with fear. I've also been filming. Like this conversation right now. Alistair pointed to the tiny camera on his shirt. And there's a sniper hiding in that building, with his scope aimed at your head. Kane looked around, trying to locate the sniper's position. Panic began spreading in his eyes. Kane Vale, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Detective Vasquez's voice came from the stairwell. 5 fully armed police officers rushed onto the rooftop, automatic rifles pointed at Kane. Drop your weapon. Get down now. Kane hesitated for a moment, then desperately tried to press the detonator. But nothing happened. Looking for this? Alistair pulled several blasting caps from his pocket. I removed all your explosives last night. Did you really think I let you blow me up? Kane realized he had been completely played. He angrily charged at Alistair, trying to solve the problem with his fists, but was quickly subdued by 2 officers. Game over, Kane, Detective Vasquez said as she handcuffed him. You and your accomplices are finished. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Los Angeles, Alistair's revenge net was tightening. On Oakwood Street, another team of police was arresting Vivian. She had just returned from Damien's apartment and turned pale when she saw the police cars. Vivian Hayes, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and insurance fraud, Officer Wilson said as he pulled out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. This is a mistake, Vivian screamed, her voice filled with desperation. I haven't done anything. I'm the victim. My husband abuses me. But the police had enough evidence. Recordings, photos, bank records, witness testimony. Vivian's perfect crime plan had completely collapsed. Mrs. Hayes, we have recorded evidence of you and Damien Cross and Kane Vale conspiring to murder your husband, Officer Wilson said calmly. We also have bank records of you transferring marital assets. Staying quiet would be good for you. At Peak Fitness Gym, Damien was giving a client a lesson, completely unaware that his world was about to collapse. When 3 plainclothes police officers approached him, he was still smiling. Damien Cross? Yes. Is there a problem? LAPD. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Damien's face instantly turned pale. He tried to run, but was caught in the gym parking lot. Faced with the evidence, he immediately began shifting blame. This was all Vivian's idea, he told police. She said her husband was abusing her. I was just trying to help her. I didn't know she wanted to kill him. But the recorded evidence told a different story. Damien not only knew about the murder plan, but actively participated in plotting it. Serafina Vale was arrested at her apartment while destroying evidence. But it was too late. Police had already collected all the records of her contact with Kane Vale and evidence of her coordinating the entire criminal network. That evening, Alistair sat in the police station, watching the 4 criminals being interrogated separately. Through the one-way glass, he watched Vivian break down in the interrogation room. She was no longer the confident, manipulative woman she had been. Now, she was just a desperate criminal, trying to find excuses for her actions. I don't understand why I'm here, Vivian told Detective Vasquez. My husband called and said he was safe. Mrs. Hayes, We have evidence showing you conspired with Cain Vale and Damian Cross to murder your husband. Detective Vasquez began the formal interrogation. Murder? Vivian's voice rose an octave. That's absurd. Why would I hurt Alistair? Vasquez opened a folder and took out a photo. This is you and Damian Cross at a Santa Monica motel, taken last Tuesday. Vivian stared at the photo, her face turning pale. That doesn't prove anything. It proves adultery, which gives you motive to kill your husband. Vasquez took out another photo. This is you giving money to Cain Vale outside a Starbucks in Hampton. I don't know who that person is. That's Serafina Vale's brother, your friend Serafina, who's been cooperating with our investigation. This news hit Vivian like lightning. Serafina wouldn't betray me. She's my friend. Some friends change their minds when facing 30 years in prison. Vasquez pressed play on a recorder. Vivian's own voice filled the room. It needs to look like an accident. Construction accident. Cain can handle the details. The woman in the interrogation room looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Where did you get that recording? From your husband, along with about 6 hours of similar recordings. Vasquez leaned forward. Vivian, you're caught. Recording evidence, photographic evidence, bank records showing you transferred marital assets. Your best option is to cooperate with the investigation. You don't understand. Vivian's voice began to tremble. Alistair has been controlling me. Emotional abuse. I was afraid of him. Really? What kind of abuse? Emotional. Financial. He controlled everything I did. Can you give us specific examples? He made all the financial decisions. Because he earned the money. He wouldn't let me have my own credit cards. Our investigation shows you had 4 credit cards with a total limit of $60,000. Vivian opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Mrs. Hayes, Vasquez continued, we have recorded evidence of you mocking how easy your husband was to manipulate. We have evidence of you planning his murder to get insurance money. We have your lover in jail, confessing everything, putting all the blame on you. Vivian's face crumbled. What is Damian saying? He says the whole thing was your idea. That you seduced him, manipulated him, threatened to expose their affair if he didn't help you. That's not true. Vivian screamed. He pursued me. Which part isn't true? The part about you seducing him? Or the part about you plotting to murder your husband? Vivian realized she had just admitted to the crime. I want a lawyer. Wise choice. In the observation room, Alistair turned away from the glass window. He had seen enough. The following months were a long process of legal proceedings. The media called the case the Los Angeles Black Widow murder case, and Vivian became the focus of national attention. But not in the way she had wanted. When the trial began, Alistair testified as the key witness. He calmly and in detail recounted the process of discovering his wife's betrayal and how they had planned to kill him. Vivian's lawyer tried to defend her, claiming she was a victim of domestic violence, forced to take extreme measures to protect herself. But there was too much evidence. The recordings showed her discussing murder without remorse. Bank records showed her transferring funds in preparation for enjoying her new life after Alistair's death. Photos proved her extramarital affair. I never hurt her, Alistair said from the witness stand. I gave her my all. My love, my trust, my life. She repaid me with betrayal and murder plans. The defense attorney tried to question the legality of the recordings, but the judge ruled that recording in one's own home was completely legal. The defendant, Vivian Hayes, had ample opportunity to stop this criminal plan, the prosecutor said in closing arguments. Instead, she chose greed and murder. She is not the victim. She is the cold-blooded mastermind. The jury took only 3 hours to reach a verdict of guilty on all counts. On sentencing day, the judge showed no mercy to Vivian. Vivian Hayes, you have been found guilty of first-degree conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, insurance fraud, and perjury. Considering the severity and premeditated nature of the crimes, this court sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. Vivian collapsed when she heard the verdict, but Alistair's expression remained calm. Damian Cross was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Cain Vale, due to his violent criminal record, was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Serafina Vale, as the coordinator, received 22 years in prison. After the trial, Alastair was interviewed by reporters outside the courthouse. "Mr. Hayes, do you have anything to say to your ex-wife?" a reporter asked. Alastair looked at the camera, his expression calm and resolute. "I only have one thing to say. Actions have consequences. When you choose to betray someone who trusts you, when you choose to hurt someone who loves you, you must bear the consequences. Justice may be delayed, but it never fails to arrive." He turned and walked toward his truck without looking back. 1 year later, Alastair stood in his completely renovated house. New paint, new furniture, new memories. The walls no longer displayed wedding photos of him and Vivian, replaced instead with photos of him and Cordelia's family, and landscape photos he had taken during solo travels. He had received several letters from prison, all in Vivian's handwriting. He hadn't opened a single one, throwing them directly into the fireplace. She had nothing left to say to him. His phone rang. It was Cordelia. "Are you free for dinner tonight?" "Oliver misses his uncle." "Of course," Alastair said. "I'll be right over." He locked the door and drove to his sister's house. In the rearview mirror, he saw the other houses on Oakwood Street, neighbors settling in for the evening. Normal people living normal lives, without betrayal, without murder plans, without lies. Alastair could finally live such a life too. At Cordelia's house, Oliver excitedly showed him a new school project. "We're learning about justice," the boy said. "What is justice, Uncle Alastair?" Alastair smiled and knelt down to look into his nephew's eyes. "Justice is when bad people do bad things. They have to face consequences. It's making sure good people are protected and bad people are punished. Like in superhero movies? Sort of like that. But in real life, justice requires patience, evidence, and courage." Oliver nodded, seeming to understand. After dinner, Alastair sat in Cordelia's backyard, watching stars appear in the clear night sky. "Are you really okay?" Cordelia asked. "I'm fine," Alastair replied, and this time he meant it. "Better than I have been in a long time." "Don't you hate her?" Alastair considered the question. "Hate requires too much energy. I'd rather use that energy building a new life." Cordelia nodded. "You're a good man, Alastair. You deserve happiness." Alastair looked up at the stars. He remembered that night 10 years ago when he and Vivian first toured the house and sat in this backyard planning their future. That future had been full of deception and betrayal, but now he had a new future. One based on truth, justice, and hard-won peace. The house no longer echoed with Vivian's lies. Now was finally quiet, an honest, pure quiet. In this quiet, Alastair could finally find peace. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.